Okay, so here is a new development log on SMONSTER kit. Today I will talk about the Fbx Cleanup Tool. So, following some advice on the members, I added some options. So here, for instance, I've loaded this mesh from an Fbx file coming from 3ds Max, and I added some new stuff for the cleaning part. So for instance, you can open the preferences of the kit here, and I added some options especially for the UV map renaming tools. So you can rename the current mesh UV map that is actually coming from 3ds Max as UV channel _1, and you can also rename it to the default Modo name, so the one that you have into your preferences. So if I go to the default texture map name, it's actually this one, and I can jump into another mode to define a specific name. So I will do this on this mesh and all the scene. So I will clean up everything, delete the cameras, the lights, empty meshes, Fbx channels, as usual, unparent in place the object and rename the UV maps, update the materials to match the workflow with hard edges, tags, convert the normals in the mesh to hard edge workflow, set the smoothing angle, etc. So I will do this in just one row. So now I can just clean this by clicking here, clean up Fbx import using small cleanup preferences. So you have the option to switch between different modes. So UV map rename to a specific target UV map name. So here, for instance, I will rename the UV map to something like, okay, new, okay, and it will take care about all those options regarding those preferences. So I will click here, and everything will be cleaned up. No more Fbx channels, delete the empty layers, etc. And you see that the UV map name is now new. Okay, so it's really handy. It can help you change the UV map name regarding to your own definition. And here, when I'm clicking here and or setting it here by clicking UV rename to Modo default name, I will clean this up using the current Modo default, that is 00_ texture in my case. So this is a new addition, and there's some new coming. Okay, so now we will talk about the replace meshes by instance. So for instance, here I have this truck, and I've exported this imported this from an OBJ, and I was cleaning all the elements. And for instance, here I have a set of wheels, and I want to replace those by just instances of only one wheel, right? So to do this, it's simple. You have to select the targets, and selecting the last one element that you want to be the source of the instance, and you use the pie menu as usual, goes to modeling, replace target by instance, and now you will get the instance replaced on all those wheels, and using this mesh, right? So this is really simple. You have this new stuff. Okay, so here I have a set of different elements that are bolts that are duplicated onto the mesh, and I will do a little change on those. So as I exported those, imported the mesh as an OBJ, and I didn't got any correct position of the center of those elements. I wanted to create a script that can move the current center of the mesh at the open boundary of the bolt. Okay, so when you use the smoothing toggle for the bolt, it looks like this, and of course the center should be probably at the open boundary here to easily place it on the surface. So here I will select those different elements, and I will run the script on the setup, center tools, and you have a new one that is called move and rotate center using open boundary. So when I run this, all the center will be offsetted and moved to the position here at the open boundary, in his own workspace, work plane, and also it will center the center correctly related to the centroid of the mesh. So I will just launch the script to show you. And now if I select those back, they still preserve the same position, but now the center is at the correct position. So yeah, that's really handy. It can help you do this for multiple selection at a time. It can be really useful. So for instance, here I will maybe use the modeling retarget to my instance, and I will get this object instanced on those elements. That's it. It's really handy, and now you can modify whatever you want. It's creative. Okay, so another tools for the center is, for instance, you have this object here that is actually it has been freezed with the OBJ import, so the center orientation is not matching the correct orientation of the mesh. So I will select just two edges and select the setup tools, center tools, and rotate center to selection. And this way now I have the center correctly in the correct orientation. I can also select one point and use setup, center, and move center to selection to replace it at the correct location if I want. So this is really simple to manage the center. You can do this right here with the center tools.